WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Good morning. The time is 6:32 on this Friday, September 27th. I'm Madison Program, and thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning. Well, happy Friday. We've almost made it to the weekend, and I know a lot of you might have plans this weekend, but let's go to Kelly McShane for weather forecast to see what those plans could look like. I know it's going to be hot, Kelly. You got something else for us besides hot and dry?
You know, I really don't. I sound like a broken record. It's hot, it's dry. That's pretty much all that we're dealing with. However, this morning we're not feeling too bad out there. Temperatures are in the 50s for some of us, 60s for others. So overall, a light jacket you may need this morning, but temperature is going to warm up very quickly heading into the afternoon hours. And we've had clear skies overnight, so that fog is settling in, especially into the Cumberland Valley region. You can see that here on downtown Whitesburg. But if you're heading out to Whitesburg later on for the Mountain Heritage Festival, those temperatures going to be very steamy. But back to the visibility, we're looking at reduced heading into the Cumberland Valley near that Tennessee line as well. And we also do have a dense fog advisory in effect until 9 a.m. for folks south of the Hal Rogers Parkway. So just be very careful. Use those low beams and give yourself about 5 extra minutes. But yes, Madison, those temperatures going to be very warm this afternoon. I'll have more on that here in just a little bit.
Thank you, Kelly. Well, Blackjewel miners have not been paid for 3 months, and they have been camped out on the railroad tracks in Cumberland for 8.5 weeks. Yesterday, the peaceful protest came to an end. They packed up camp, but they still have not been given their money. WYMT's Emily Bennett talked to them about the decision to leave.
It's a place that has almost become like home.
We made a really good stand. We've got our point across. But unfortunately, you know, we got to go back to work. We got families to support.
Miner Chris Rowe has been at the protest site from day one, sleeping every night in this tent by the tracks.
Go home long enough to take a shower and I come right back.
But now Chris and his wife Stacy are the only ones left.
Not really comfortable with it, but I got to do what I got to do.
Miners are finding work, going back to school, and are too busy to spend time at the protest site.
I'm really heartbroken that I'm having to go because I don't like backing down from people, from fights and stuff.
They made the decision to pack up as Chris was offered a job driving truck that he could not pass up.
I hate all this happened, but maybe it was a blessing in disguise because we got the opportunity we did for him to go on the road and drive, and we'll be with him all the time.
The decision was not easy, and the time at the tracks proved to be a learning experience.
You take enough people that has been treated as wrong as we had got, you can come together and make a bond with people that, you know, you never thought you would.
And now that it is over, Chris wants people to know one thing.
The phone calls, the messages, the food, I mean, everything. And I just want to say thank you because you guys are what kept us going.
Forever grateful for everyone that rallied behind them. In Harlan County, Emily Bennett, WYMT Mountain News.
Blackjewel is still in negotiations with the Department of Labor over the coal still on the tracks. If no agreement is reached by October 1st, a court-ordered mediation will be held in early October. And people in Leslie County are worried some historic parts of the county may be moved. Frontier Nursing was founded in 1939 by Mary Breckenridge. It was the primary health care provider in Leslie County for decades until becoming a nursing school. Slowly, the school is moving their university from Hayden to Versailles. Locals believe it will cost jobs here, but that's not all they're worried about. There are talks of moving a famous stained glass window and brick on the campus as well.
And yesterday, some documents were released online that show that they're talking about actually moving the entire Wendover facility.
But then to hear that they're going to try to take the local landmarks with them just really infuriated me.
Right now, it is unclear what sort of impact Frontier Nursing moving to Versailles will have on Leslie County in the coming years. And local state representative for the district, Derek Lewis, chimed in on the possibility of the historic window leaving. He said, quote, stealing one community's heritage to manufacture another's history would only serve as further evidence of how far the FNS has traveled from its mission. I am hoping that with enough awareness that common sense will prevail. And a woman says she was arrested and taken to jail, all because she says police thought she was someone else. Kim Bryant says she was caught speeding and didn't have her license when she was stopped on I-75. But she says what happened next was a nightmare. She was taken to jail where she had to spend the night. WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more on how mistaken identity led to her arrest.
Yeah. People shouldn't be treated that way.
Kim Bryant was headed to an appointment in Berea when the blue lights showed up behind her. She knew she was caught speeding, but she only expected a ticket for that, having recently misplaced her driver's license.
And they said they had a warrant for my arrest.
A check of her name and social turned up at Kim Bryant wanted on warrants from McCracken County, a place she says she's never been. The next thing she knew, she was headed to jail.
I wasn't the person that did this, and they wouldn't listen to me. They just threw me in there.
The Kim Bryant wanted on warrants wrote a cold check some 20 years ago. This Kim Bryant spent nearly 24 hours in jail, all because of the mistaken identity.
Listen, if you had just spent a day and a half in there for something you didn't do, it would make you realize we don't live in a safe place.
We tried to get to the bottom of this to figure out how and why this happened. We talked to officials in McCracken County who said they believe this is possibly a case of identity theft. We also called pretrial services, who simply said we would need to talk to the Berea Police Department to figure out why this person was arrested. Berea police say their officers were following due diligence and making an arrest based on the information they had.
Somehow or another, my social was connected to this other Kim Bryant.
Bryant says to her it's just terrifying that an innocent person could spend time in jail all because of a mistake. In Madison County, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
Bryant was arrested and booked in jail Wednesday afternoon, but it took until yesterday for a judge in Paducah to sign off on the mistake and release her from jail. And sheriff's deputies tell us there was a stabbing in Martin County late last night. Martin County Sheriff John Kirk says 2 men were stabbed in the Inez area. The extent of their injuries is unknown and at this time, and no arrests have been made. This is a developing story and we'll keep you updated over on our website at WYMT.com. And the Kentucky Supreme Court ruled in favor of a newspaper seeking documents related to a sexual harassment complaint against a Republican lawmaker. The 2015 sexual harassment complaint involves 86th District State Representative Jim Stewart III. The Legislative Research Commission denied the records to the paper, arguing the LRC has sole authority over Open Records Act's decisions in the legislative branch of government. The High Court disagreed. Now the Franklin Circuit Court can hear the paper's appeals. And a huge federal grant is being used to investigate unsolved sexual assault cases here in Kentucky. Attorney General Andy Beshear made that announcement Thursday morning. The state is set to receive more than $1 million to expand the AG's office sexual assault cold case unit. This latest funding follows a $3 million grant that allowed for the testing of more than 1,400 sexual assault kits involving cold cases.
Because those kits are not just a box on a shelf. They represent a survivor of a horrendous crime.
Kentucky is only one of a few states that have tested every backlog test kit for sexual assault. And it took just days. Now the Kentucky debate between Governor Matt Bevin and Attorney General Andy Beshear is sold out. The October 15th debate at UK will come as the race between the political rivals enters the home stretch. WKYT, our sister Grace television stations, and the League of Women's Voters, along with UK Student Government, are sponsors. Tickets at the 1,500-seat Singletary Center for the Arts were free, and WYMT will air the debate live on air and online at 7 p.m.
Friday morning temperatures. We're not feeling too bad out there. We're feeling pretty chilly. In fact, temperatures for some of us into the 50s, 52 in Ashland, 58 in Prestonsburg, Pikeville in the lower 60s. Harlan is at 63 this morning. Williamsburg 64, and London you are at 58 this morning. So you may need a light jacket as you step out this morning. And we're seeing a little bit of visibility issues thanks to we had some clear skies overnight. So that fog settled into the valley regions, especially into the Cumberland Valley. Valley, so just be mindful of that heading throughout your morning. Be sure to give yourself a little bit of extra time and use those low beams out there on the road. Be sure to download the WYMT weather app to track those temperatures heading throughout today as well as the weekend. Heading into this afternoon, about lunchtime, we're going to see those temperatures into the lower 80s, and then we're going to warm up quickly to near 90 degrees as we head into your Friday afternoon. So we may break a record of high temperature for today, and how long will this heat last? I will have those details here in just a little bit. Madison.
Thank you, Kelly, and thank you for joining us on Mountain News this morning. 10 years, that's how long it took for a stolen ring to find its way back to its rightful owner. We'll tell you how she found it.